Welcome to Sisterhood Check-In. I am your author and coach, Nadira Lewis, and it is Friday. Woo! I am excited, guys, to spend another Friday with you and share with you some amazing information that I've been holding on to for a whole week, and I'm excited. I can't wait to go over this with you guys. Hope you guys had an amazing week. I know I did. I had a lot of rest and a lot of time to reflect on a lot of things. You know, sometimes you need those quiet times to kind of sit back and reflect and sit back and kind of just go through some things that you may have been dealing with in life, and not always necessarily bad, but sometimes you need those things just to kind of just sit back and just be like, and just take in and just reevaluate some things that are going on in your life. So I'm excited. I hope you guys had such a reflective week as I did. Just fly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and for all of you, excuse me for that, for all of you that are watching me on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, so that every time I upload a video, you'll be made aware and you won't be left behind. If you are watching me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all those other platforms, TikTok, make sure you click like and share if you've been blessed by the content that you have been hearing. So if you're hearing something and I am adding to you and blessing you, don't be scared. Share the broadcast with somebody that you know that may also benefit from it also. So we're going to go ahead and play this quick video. And then after we play this video, we're going to get right into our topic today, which is, are you stuck and scared? Do you have spiritual paralysis? We'll be right back after this.
Sometimes it's not enough to be reminded that Jesus hasn't left you or forgotten you. We need to declare it over ourselves, over others. No matter the season you may find yourself in, no matter the depths of darkness you're wading through, you can join him in declaring the truth. That God is light upon your feet, whether or not you can see the next step. That God is your strength, even though the weight of life seems to be crushing you down. And that when your job, your marriage, your relationship, your health feels like it's coming to a dead end, there is only one God that can make dead things live again. These are his promises, and they're the only thing you need to declare over your life. So as you step into this next season or this next moment, you can declare that God's not done with you. He's just getting started. You can declare that the good work that he has started in you, he will surely complete it. You can declare that the same God that parted the seas goes before you, goes behind you. You can declare these promises over your life, over your family's life, over the people passing on the street. You can declare these truths over every circumstance, over every season of your life. You can declare that every day belongs to him and every new breath belongs to him. Because we have the power of a living God living inside of us. And this is our declaration.
All right. I love every time that video is played. It's such a reminder to us, especially in this day and time, when you start to feel like, in this case, as in the title of this topic, stuck and scared. And you need to be able to know that you have the power of the living God living on the inside of you. And knowing that he lives on the inside of you, you have the ability to overcome any circumstance that may try to come and cause you, the Bible talks about casting down every imagination and every high thing that exalts itself above the knowledge of God. And there has to be a point in your life where you have to learn how to cast down things that come against the knowledge of who you are and who God says you are. Okay. So thank you guys so much for watching again. Today we're going to be talking about, are you stuck and scared? Are you suffering from spiritual paralysis? And the reason why I say that, because, when, I hear a lot of people, talk about things that they want to, things that they feel like God has called them to, things that they feel like that they are good, that they've expressed that they're good at. Some people may even know what their gifts and talents are. Some people are good at knowing their skill sets, but not quite sure how to maneuver in a way that they feel like it's moving them forward. Right. And one of the things you have to realize is that when God gives you the ability, when he gives you the ability to be able to walk in whatever it is that he's called you to, you have everything that you need to become and fulfill whatever it is that he's designed you for. Now, sometimes when there's not a lot of movement in a particular area and we are feeling stuck and feeling a sense of stagnation, there's a lot of things to be looked at and evaluated in determining why that's taking place. And one of the ways you can do that, and we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to talk about 8 barriers that may keep you stuck and scared and keep you in that spiritual paralysis. Okay. And number 1, we're going to talk about the fear of failure. The fear of failure and inadequacy is a real thing, right? It's a real thing when you don't feel like that you're able to move the way you envision in your heart, the way you see. I have a vision. You might have something that that God has called you to do, whether it's in servitude, in any area of your life, right? You might feel like, man, I know God called me to do this. I know that I have a passion and a desire to do this, but there's this fear of inadequacy. There's this fear of failure that's knocking at my door and causing me to feel like I can't beat this thing, to make me feel like I'm not good enough, to make me feel like, dang, it seems like no matter what I do, it just seems like it's just not working, right? And we're going to talk about that. So in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me get to it, right? In 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. Let's read it. And it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." Meaning that if God is giving you the ability, God, here it is, Paul is talking to Peter, that God telling him that, and it's crazy because right before that, he told him that he put him in to stir up the gift of God that was in him. He told him to stir up, right, the gift of God that was in him, that was imparted into him by laying on the hands. And then he told him, before he told him that God is not giving him the spirit, he said, look, I'm letting you know, stir up, the gift that God has put on the inside of you. There are some things that God has deposited into you, but you have to be the one to make it work. You have to be the one to put it into action, right? There's some things that God is going to cause, that God's going to give you, that's going to not happen unless he do it. And then there's going to be some things that you're going to have to do. God's not going to do your part, and he's not, and you can't do God's part, right? So he tells Timothy, stir up the gift of God that's in you, right? And I say that for you guys now. If you know what God has called you to, stir it up. Put yourself around people and put yourself around atmospheres where your gift is being stirred up. If you know that God has called you to a particular area, get around other people that are doing that same thing so that you can be stirred up. Because believe it or not, when you are around people that have similar giftings or have something and they contribute and they cause something inside of you to leap, it causes that gift inside of you to be stirred up. right? That's why I believe it's important that's why I believe that God didn't give everything to one person, because if he gave everything to one person, then we wouldn't need each other as a community. We wouldn't need the impartations that God has put in each person. If he gave it to one person, we'll walk around here with a big head and feel like we got it all together and feel like we don't need each other. And God is not going to have that. And that's just why I believe he didn't give it all to one particular person. So Paul tells Peter, stir up the gift that's in you, stir it up, right? And then he told him that God did not give you the spirit of fear, right? He said, but hold on, let me go back to it because my doggone thing just done went down. Here he says, God is not giving you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. In other words, he's like, wait a minute, hold on, let me just make sure that I'm live, because I know sometimes with these Facebook algorithm, it doesn't show that I'm live. It'll go to my event page. So just give me a second. Let me just make sure that I am showing live on my page. Okay, it looks like I'm going live. I just wanted to make sure before I continue. Okay, so here it is. He's telling him God is not giving you the spirit of fear, which means he already had some idea that Timothy was concerned about not feeling like he was capable to do whatever it is that he was sent to do. So, and I say that to you, God is not giving you the spirit of fear, which means that it wasn't a part of his plan. If you are operating in some sort of fear, it's not because God is giving it to you. If you're feeling inferior, it's not because God is giving it to you, right? It's because you have allowed the enemy to bombard your mind with what some people call imposter syndrome, or you have allowed the enemy to make you feel like you're defeated in your mind, so you feel like you're incapable of doing, because of you're looking at your limited abilities. I can't do this, and I can't do that, and you're using that as a reason to allow the enemy to use that to make you feel fearful. But here Paul is telling Timothy, God is not giving you the spirit of fear, right? And when you think about a spirit of fear, it's not necessarily a feeling, right? It's almost like that. It's like a crippling fear, right? It's almost like the kind of fear that make you feel like you can't move, right? You stuck. You can't go to the next level because you feel crippled. You feel like you ever be in the midst of somebody or something, and you feel like you're intimidated by them. You might be intimidated by who they are, what position they have, and it paralyzes you because you feel like you're not operating, or you feel like you're not good enough or to be around that particular person. And that's just fear. It's fear crippling you to the point to where it's causing you not to move and giving you, like I said, that example of a spiritual paralysis. He said, but not only did he not give you the spirit of fear, but he gave you power. He gave you love and a sound mind, which is, when you really think about it, it's the three things it is the three core human needs that we need. Power. Everybody wants to feel like they have the power to control their circumstances. Everybody wants to feel like they have the power to say no to a circumstance that is not favorable to them, right? Everybody wants to feel like they have the power to overcome whatever it is that's in front of them that they can't do in their own will, right? Love, because love is another core human need, because everybody wants to have an overwhelming sense of appreciation or feel valued in some way, right? So when to know that God is giving you power, the ability to control certain circumstances in your life, right? To control. And then when I say control circumstances, that means you can control your response, right? You may not be able to control everything that happens to you. Like I said in my book, I said you are in control of two things. You are in control of your response, right? Which means that if something is happening outside of your control, right? You don't have to freak out and go off on people, even when you feel like people deserve it. Because there are some people I've seen that just simply were just disrespectful to the core. And sometimes you just want to go smack straight off on them, right? But I know that I'm in control of my response, right? So I'm not gonna allow a particular circumstance or person to cause me or put me outside of who I really am just to express a frustration that I have. It's just not worth it, right? He said of love, meaning, like I said, everybody wants to feel value. Everybody in their core wants to feel love, wants to feel like they're valued, right? Which is why when you really think about it, when you think about the downfall of a lot of people, at the end, the surface is always relationships, right? If you're not having a good relation, if you're not doing well in your relationships, vertical relationships, right, in terms of your friendships and romantic relationships, then what happens is it affects how you show up in your gift. It affects how you show up at your job. It affects how you show up in your business. It affects how you show up as a parent. Because if you start to feel like you're not being valued, right, it will cause you to show up. It'll cause you to react a certain way. It'll cause you to respond in a way that is not a way that God designed you. He gave you power, right, to overcome that feeling of not feeling valued or appreciated. That's why he's reminding us and let us know, using Paul to remind us, right? Because all scripture is for doctrine and for edification, which means that when we're reading the scripture, though he is speaking to them, he is not only just speaking to them, he is speaking to us through them, right? Everything that Jesus said, it was never just for that one person. Everything he said, he was always speaking, to generations. So I say that to say that everybody wants to feel love and value. That's why there's so much, so many, when you look at, I've never seen so many articles on Facebook about relationships and seeing how people are desiring healthy relationships. People are also suffering from toxic relationships, right? People are not even able to function if they're not even in a relationship, right? They don't understand the power of being alone for a particular time frame, which sometimes God will allow so that he can take out and rearrange, right, and reprogram some of your thought process, right, when it comes to relationships, because nowadays we're rewriting everything with the way we're rewriting relationships, we're rewriting faith, we're rewriting, what it's like to be a woman, right? Now it's like sometimes God allows those times where you're alone to kind of perfect some things and kind of take out some things that might have been toxic, right? So that you can grow and show up healthy in relationships when he does allow that to take place. So he says he gave us power, love, and he gave us a sound mind. Meaning the third core need is for peace, to have a sound mind. People, especially, I'm realizing the older you get, you tend to appreciate peace a little more. You ever hear people say, man, I don't want my peace to be sacrificed. I don't want nobody disturbing my peace. Well, that's exactly how it is sometimes, is that he's giving us a sound mind, but he's just not giving it just like, oh, let me just give out us. He said, if you keep your mind on him, he will keep you in perfect peace. So most of the time we're not in peace because we're not keeping our focus on him. And the thing we are focusing on, right, the thing we tend to really focus on don't have anything to do with him, right? Don't have anything to do with God. So the peace that we tend to focus on is temporary peace, right? But when we begin to keep our eyes on him and our focus on him, then what he does, he says he will do it, right? He will keep your mind, right? So you might be trying to keep your mind, but he said he's giving you power, right? The ability to overcome, love, right? And a sound mind. He's giving you the ability to have a still mind, right? Because you can't really make efficient decisions if your mind, you can't even make should I say a better word, sound decisions, right? In relationships and friendships and business decisions and interacting with anybody. You can't be sound in your decision making if your mind is not sound. Sometimes we look at people on the outside and they look well put together, but internally, right? Internally, they're like a whirlwind, they're like chaotic. And they don't like to be alone. They can't take it. They always have to be around somebody. They can't sit still and allow God to really speak to them, not realizing that those quiet moments are really precious, because that's when he can really, you don't have any distractions, where he can really speak to you, and you don't have to worry about thinking like, oh man, I got this to do. When you have those still moments, right? Even in a world where you're doing a whole bunch of stuff, when you're still in your mind, you can hear God a lot clearly. And so when he tells you to move to the left, you can move to the left. When he unctions you to move to the right, you can move to the right. Why? Because you have a still mind. You can hear him when he say, don't go over there. Don't go outside today. Stay inside. Don't go over there to that place today. Don't go over that person's house today. And it's crazy because when I think about my own personal life, he's actually saved my life by me being able to. That's why I value it so much. I value a sound mind, because I realize I can't make efficient decisions if I'm all over the place in my mind. And there's a lot of times when I felt all over the place, when I've allowed circumstances and situations to kind of get me rattled, and I can't get myself together. I can't get my thoughts together. And then I'm like literally all over the place. But when I started to appreciate what it's like to have a sound mind, it became more clearer what directions I don't even have to say it out of my mouth. I can just think it and be like, man, God, what do I do about this situation? What do I do about this circumstances? And it's like, I don't even have to really make much of an effort. I look up and it's like, dang, he led me. It was funny because I just thought about some stuff recently that I've gone through, and I'm like, man, God, you really kind of gave me, you kind of like moved in that situation for me, and I wasn't even thinking, I wouldn't even, it didn't even come across my mind. It's like, man, you led me that way, and when I looked the day later, I was like, wow, my steps was really ordered. He ordered me to go in this particular area. And when he did that, I was like, wow, okay. So I know the value of what it's like. And he's done that in many other situations. Sometimes you could be talking to somebody, and God will show you, they'll be saying one thing and God will show you what they really thinking. Right. And you'll be like, dang, like, really, God? And they'll be looking at you, and then you be looking, and then all of a sudden he'll show you that this person is what they're thinking. They're thinking what their thoughts are concerning you. And it's like, oh wow. And you be looking at them, and they be looking at you like, what? And in your mind, you're like, wow. And it's like, to me, I've learned to appreciate that stillness so that I can hear. Because in this day and time, you need to know. You need to know what direction that God is calling you. So number two, right? Second thing that keeps us stuck and scared, and that is the fear of the unknown. When we don't have any idea what is on the other side of our thought process, what's on the other side of what it is that we're seeking or asking God for, or God may give us a decision, and we don't know what's on the other side of that, we tend to get scared because we like, oh gosh, I don't know what happened if I go this direction and I move this way. What if it's the wrong decision? What happens if I go that way? And then, so there's the fear of the unknown. Isaiah 41:10, right? Let's read it. Isaiah 41:10. All right. Isaiah 41:10 says, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help you. I will help thee. I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. That means, you don't have to be scared. And I know it's easier said than done, but that's the whole point of cultivating that relationship with God, so that when he tells you to move in a certain direction and you begin to get obedient to it, you become obedient, it becomes easier to follow him when he tells you to go in different other ways. I was listening to a testimony about I think it was a lady that was played in the movie Wakanda, and she was saying how God told her, she had just developed a relationship with God, and God told her to give up she was going to be a part of I think she was going to play like a lead, not a leading role. She was going to be a supporting actor, a supporting actress to a role in this movie with these people. And she was just like really excited. It was like a huge deal for her, right? And God told her to not to take it, to take some time and spend with him. And how she talked about for 7 months she spent time with God and allow God to deal with her about some things and to kind of draw that close relationship with God. And she was saying how she was like, man, this was like a really big deal. And God told her that in this time frame, if she drew closer to him, that he was gonna what he was gonna do for her afterwards was going to be greater than what she was going to do with this previous opportunity. And so she said in '07, she called up her agents and told them, look, hey, I'm not going to do any auditions. I'm not going to do any roles for 7-8 months. I'm just going to take like a little sabbatical. And her agents and them was looking at her like, you're crazy, girl. Like, what in the world? Like, you're just getting in your momentum. And it was her obedience to what God had told her that caused her that, she did what God told her to do. And then 7-8 months, that's when the opportunity for Wakanda came, and she was like playing a leading role. And so she was emphasizing the importance, and she was like, she didn't even want to come back out because she was like, wait a minute, because there can be a place in God. There's a place in God where you can feel like really good, and you feel like content, and you feel like I'm good. You're not lacking any good thing, right? You feel like, God is providing for you. He's giving you that peace, that contentment. And there you can get to that place where you feel like I'm good, whether this happens or whether that happens, I'm good either way, right? And God told her, no, this was the area that I've called you to. This is the area that I want you to, I want you to go back into what she was doing, because he said this is what he had called her to, right? And so, it's like that. Anytime you're obeying or becoming obedient to whatever it is that God has called you to do, trust and believe, right? Trust and believe. It is not going to be in vain, right? It's not going to be in vain. Anything he tell you to give up, it's because he got something better for you on the other side. Anything he tell you to walk away from, it's because he's got something better for you on the other side. But what as humans, right, we're so used to having things our way, right, that we don't understand the importance of being long suffering and waiting and waiting on God, right? We want things. We live in a world where we can have things when we want it. We ain't got to wait for nobody. We gonna make it happen, right? As some would say. But the thing is that, yeah, you can make some things happen. Oh my God. But when you allow God to move on your behalf for you, right, in particular, and you obey his leading, when you want to talk, all this talk about femininity, let me tell you what true femininity is when you can submit to God, and he will allow you to sit in a place, right, where you can depend on him, right? He's not going to make you feel like you're less than when you depend on him to care for your heart and to care for your soul, right? And you're not going to lack anything, right? Because he takes care of his own. He makes sure that there's times when in a natural, it may look like, oh man, I didn't have this or this didn't work out. And God I'm telling you, it just seemed like he just supernaturally just made provision. Right. And that was like really encouraging to me, because I learned in previous times when I was going through, separation with my first husband, and I was going through a lot of financial hardship. As I began to follow the directions of God, he just was opening up doors for me. Favor is better than anything, right? Because when he gives you favor, right, in a particular area, that's why I be like, yeah, favor is with me. I know that I've seen it in my lifespan over and over again. When you talk about he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor, that man obtained favor because of the woman that God had, because of the favor that God has placed on that woman and their connection. Man, God, you'll notice you'll be with somebody, and for those of you that have been that are married, right? When you with your wife, it just seemed like doors just open, just seem like things just happen because of the favor. And not everybody has favor on them, but I'm telling you, I have seen in my own lifetime, I've seen the favor of God begin to operate in certain circumstances. And I'm like, man, God, oh, wow. Like, that's not something I need to openly display. I just see, right? I see the favor. I see what you're doing, and I'm grateful for it. So don't be scared. Don't be afraid if God tell you to do something and he tells you to go in a different direction. Be obedient, because trust me, on the other side of that obedience is going to be something you're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, I'm kind of glad that I did that, because sometimes when he tell you to do stuff, he's protecting you. He's protecting you from unnecessary things that you don't see, because we sometimes don't see the big picture because we too close on the canvas. And so sometimes you have to step away from the canvas in order to see things as he does, right? So number 3, what is the third thing that keeps us stuck and scared? It is comparing yourself to other people. My gosh. Comparing yourself to other people. Galatians chapter 6, verse 4, right? Galatians chapter 6, verse 4 says, but let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. In other words, you allow God to do the work. When you allow God to do the work and let him do some things on the inside of your heart, and you begin to work on your character, and you begin to work on your personal spiritual growth, you'll begin to see yourself change in so many different ways. You don't have to worry about comparing yourself to somebody else, because God will you'll be so consumed with what he's doing in your life that you won't have the time nor the energy to focus on being like somebody else. I don't be concerned. I am not concerned about who has a better podcast than me. I'm not concerned about who has a greater audience than me. I'm not concerned who is prettier than me, because there are a lot of women that are a lot of women. There are a lot of beautiful women in the world. I'm not concerned about somebody being more talented than me. I'm not worried about somebody speaking better than me. I'm not worried about somebody having more finances than me. I'm not concerned about somebody having a relationship and I don't. I'm not concerned about that, because I understand I'm looking at the scripture and I'm proving my own work, because I'm doing my own personal development. I'm working on myself in ways that I'm seeing the spiritual growth. I'm seeing the increase in my maturity. I'm seeing the difference in how I handle different things. So I don't have to look to my left. I don't have to look to my right and see what this person is doing to prove or to validate, right? And I always say validation is for parking, right? I don't have to validate who I am based on what I see somebody else do. I just do what I'm supposed to do. I stay in my lane. I grow in the areas that God tells me to grow in, and that's it. And that's what happened when you stop comparing yourself to other people and you stop looking at, well, they do it better, or they have better equipment, or they got all the resources. No, when I started to do some of the things that God called me to do, when I first started my very first mentoring program in Jacksonville, Florida, I didn't have a facility. All I knew is that God called me to build up young ladies and to help restore their identity and their self-worth, and explain to them that they're valuable to him, and to really teach them, because he tells us, and the older shall teach the younger women, right, how to love their husbands, how to be discreet, right? So I was just taking a position. Here I am doing these camps in the summertime. I said, I'm going to do it in my house. I didn't have the resources. And then at one point, I had a friend of mine that had a much bigger house, because I had 33 girls in my house. Lord have mercy. I don't know how I did that in a tiny apartment, right? 33 girls in my apartment, mentoring them. But that first year, I only had about 9 girls. That first year, I had 9 girls, and I was in a facility, and I was concerned about, like, dang, how am I gonna, I don't have a facility because everybody else, that I've seen that was doing anything they had buildings, they had finances, and here I am with a vision, and all I did was just do it to the best of my ability in the time frame that I did, right? And I made impact where I was, no matter what I was going through during that time frame. And I was going through a lot of different things, but I was determined to fulfill the call of God on my life, and I was not going to allow my circumstance to determine or cause me to stop operating in what I feel like God has called me to do. And actually, when I began to do that, I began to get really encouraged watching their growth, watching and seeing them learn. I realized, wow, this is something that watching other people transform, watching these young girls transform into young ladies and have such a hunger, right? And a desire to want to do right, to want to live right, and to be able to, sit down with them and teach and mentor them in the daytime, and then teach them entrepreneurship in the evening it was crazy, right? And I really enjoyed it so very much. So don't compare yourself, right? And then that next year, here's that first year I only had 9 girls. The second year I had 33 women, 33 girls. And I did the program even better, right? And I got to impact more people, right? And it was in my house, right? Still in my house, right? How in the world did I get 33 people in my house? I don't even know, right? And could you imagine having 33 girls, teenage girls from the age of 7 all the way up to 18, I think 17, the oldest was 17, where you're mentoring these girls, and you're sharing all the things that God imparted into you, the wisdom that he's giving you. That's it. That's why I tell people, don't take for granted the things that God show you on your journey, the things that he teaches you even on your journey, because the things that he teach you on your journey, right, are there, right, to help other people, right? I think it was Pastor Darius Daniels. He had said something about your anointing and your giftings are for other people, and he said wisdom is for you. And I was like, wow, that makes sense, because it's our job to develop the wisdom, right? And to learn the wisdom to get the wisdom that we need, so that we can show up in whatever our gifts is. We can show up and be an impact to the people that God has called us to impact, right? But if you are so focused on just trying to get to a particular destination, and you're looking at somebody else's lane, right? And you're looking at what's going on in their life and their lane, you're missing the whole point. You're missing what God wants to do through you. That's why we are not supposed to despise the small time, not despise small beginnings, because in the beginning you might be doing it you might be doing something one way, and 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, you'll get better as you become better. Right? As you become better, then the thing that you're gifted at begins to elevate into it blossoms into something different. And you can see that growth, right? Because you were there from the beginning. So you begin to see, you can look back. I look back at some of my videos from 4 years ago, and I'm like, wow, how much I have changed, how much personal development that I have invested in, and look at where I am now, and I'm still growing, right? So I don't need to look at other people to compare my level of growth. I look at where I was 4 years ago, and I look at where I am now, and I realize, okay, Nadira, you've changed. Some things about you have changed, and you're becoming a woman of Proverbs, a woman of wisdom. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get into number 4, which is going to be lack of clarity. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, get me some coffee, because I'm telling you, I talked so much last week that I wound up hoarse the entire week. So make sure you call up your girlfriends and tell them Sisterhood Check-In is on the air. Stay with me and watch these commercial promos, and I'll be right back after this. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, y'all, it's about that time now. She's a woman of God, she's a woman of grace, she's a woman of the marketplace. She's a woman of God, she's a woman of grace, she's a woman of the marketplace. She's a
Help me to trust him again with my heart and not be scared, looking over my shoulder when it comes to his actions because I felt betrayed by him. Help me to trust his good intentions towards me
back. All right. So had a little bit of a power outage really quick. So thank heavens we are back. And as I was mentioning before, so my connection is slowly quick. I thought it was said it was going to be. Where were we? Just waiting for my camera to show up. Okay, good. So we are back. We are on number 4. We were going through the commercial. It's crazy. Commercial break. But thank you guys so much for still for those that decided to come, those that decide to come back. I appreciate it. But we're gonna go ahead and continue. In number 4, we were talking about 8 barriers that keep you stuck and scared. Okay. And in the first segment, we talked about the fear of failure and inadequacy. Number 2, we talked about the fear of the unknown. 3, we were talking about the comparison to other people. Now we are on number 4, which is lack of clarity. Lack of clarity. When there is lack of clarity, definitely keep you stuck, right? You'll feel like you're spinning the wheels, right? Going in like a circle, right? Over and over again, spinning your wheels. Like, gosh, it just seemed like, I'm not going anywhere. It just seems like I'm just going in circles. I'm moving, but I'm moving in circles. I'm not really seeing the progress that I thought I would be seeing it because of a lack of clarity, which means you may know what area you may feel like God has called you to walk in or to be in, but you feel like, man, I just don't know. I don't have a strategy on how do I make it happen? How do I bring it to pass? So let's look at Proverbs chapter 16, verse 3. It says, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Commit your works unto the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. When you begin to submit your works, the things that you are doing or that you feel like you're doing, because some of us are doing a lot of things for God, right? We're doing a lot of stuff for him, right? And we haven't even prayed about it, or we prayed about it, but we didn't wait long enough for God to show us how to bring it to pass. What do I do? We hadn't sat with it long enough for him to establish our thoughts in a particular thing. So you might say, yeah, I know God has called me to do this or to do that, and you haven't sat with it long enough to wait. You might have been praying that God open up the door for me. Oh God, I pray that you open up this door. I pray that you give me favor in this area, but you haven't sat with it long. You haven't sat with him long enough for him to establish your thoughts. God, is this the person that I'm supposed to marry? Is this the person I'm supposed to be in a relationship? Is this the business that I'm supposed to be in? You haven't sat with it long enough to really look at to allow him to establish your thoughts. And so what happens is when there's a lack of clarity, 9 times out of 10, it's because you haven't sat with God about a particular situation. And so you're always like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Or sometimes he'll tell you what to do, right? And he'll tell you what to do and you don't move on it because of the fact because of your lack of clarity. I don't know, God, is this you? Is this you? Well, if he said, if you acknowledge him in all his ways, then he will direct your path, which means it is not like God desires for us to not know what the will of God is, right? It's not his will for us to not know what we're supposed to be doing. It is his will for us to understand and to be able to know the will of God for our life. Is this the relationship that I'm supposed to be in? Is this, and it may not be a right now answer. It may happen over a period of time where you may be seeking God about clarity and instructions on how to, how to continue, or if I should walk away or if I should stay. But sometimes we're so afraid of the outcome, or we're afraid that God is going to tell us no. So what we do is we walk in these circles and we think, oh man, I don't know. When people ask you, what is it? I don't know, child. I don't know, child. I don't know. There's a lack of clarity when it comes to, you start, God say, well, people might say, well, didn't you say that God called you to do this? Girl, well, when you going to start that thing? Didn't you say that God called you to do a particular thing? And you be like, child, I don't even know. No clarity, no instructions, right? It's dangerous to live a life without clarity, right? Because when you live a life without clarity, that means you just shooting from the hip. Bam, bam, bam. You just shooting from the hip. That means whatever goes, right? The problem with that is like it's reckless, right? It's reckless. And when it's reckless, that means you not only have the possibility of harming yourself, but you also have the possibility of harming the people that come across your path because your lack of clarity. God will tell you not to be over here in this particular situation, and then you go over there and then something happens and then you upset and you mad, right? When God didn't tell you to go over there. He didn't tell you to do that particular thing, right? But because you don't have lack of clarity, you don't know what direction. God, I don't know what direction I'm gonna go. You just walking blindly in every area of your life, right? And for some of you, you might be walking, you might have clarity in some areas of your life, but there might be core areas of your life that you really struggle with. And God tells us that if we commit our works to him, that he will establish our thoughts. And establishing your thoughts, which means he'll put clarity, he'll put instructions in your head and help you make decisions when it comes to a particular area of your life where you're not sitting on the sideline going, God, is this you? Is this not you? No, he will bring you clarity. He will bring you in Psalms, it said he'll give you understanding in all things, right? And understanding is the ability to know which direction do I go? Okay, even if this doesn't work out the way I want, I have a level of comfort to know, or a level of understanding to know that if it don't work out the way I want to, God is still in control. If it doesn't happen the way he designed it to be, it's either not his timing or either way, God is you're in control, and you're going to make it clear to me because you told me that if I acknowledge in all my ways that you will direct my path, right? And you told me to not lean into my own understanding, right? And so when we develop that mindset that I'm not going to lean to my own understanding, but I'm going to acknowledge him in all my ways, and he's going to direct my path, because the Bible was written for us, right, to help us navigate this life as a believer. Number 5, comfort zones. Ooh, this is a good one. Comfort zones. Sometimes, right, we struggle, right, with being stuck and scared in a particular area of our life because of our comfort zones. Ooh, comfort, right? Joshua chapter 1, verse 9 says, have with thee wherever thou go. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and move in areas that God has instructed you to go, right? Once you have clarity, right? once you have clarity and once you move in an area that he's instructed you, no matter what that is, you got to be okay with moving outside of your comfort zone. I can honestly say I am one person that struggles with change. And it's because of different things that happen in my life. I struggle with change. And so what I have learned over this journey in my life as an adult is that sometimes if you want to see different results in your life, in your business, in your relationships, you got to get out of your comfort zone, right? You got to get out of your and getting out of your comfort zone doesn't mean compromise in a way that puts your beliefs or your faith at risk. It means that you are willing to do something that you've never done, right? In order to experience or expose yourself to something new, right? And so this is like interesting to me because I've been allowing myself to be exposed to different things just so that I can, as the Lord leads me, it's been like, and that exposure could be different. That comfort zone could be different for different people. Some people, their comfort zone is, different, just a lot of different things. You might be a person that you might be a house person, right? And you might not like to go out that you might not ever like to leave your house. Your house is your comfort zone, right? And you might say, I want a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. Well, guess what? You got to get out your house so that you can meet new people, right? Meet new people so that you can position yourself, right? To be in alignment or to come across the path of somebody that God may have for you, right? Not only in just romantic relationship, you might have new friendships, getting in a place where you open yourself up to new friendships, right? And you're positioning yourself, right, to get out your comfort zone. Like me, I'm an ambivert. There are some moments I'm an introvert, and there's some moments I'm an introvert. In some instances, I'm out of what is it? Introvert, and then the other one, I forgot what the other one is. But ambivert is when you're a little bit of both, right? So I have my little moments where sometimes I'm cozy. I'll be good in my own little zone, in my own little lane, and I'll be doing my own little thing, and I'm content. I'm good, right? And then recently I've been, getting out of my comfort zone and allowing myself to be open, because sometimes too, when you've been through enough trauma in your life and you've been around enough people, and if you have a very giving heart, sometimes you can allow yourself to be attached to people that really don't have any good intentions towards you, right? You can allow your heart to attach to people. And I'm the type of person, I have the habit of, I give all of me. Like, I don't know how to give part of me, right? So if I have to reduce myself to not giving all of me, that's a very uncomfortable position for me, because in my relationships, my friends are my friends and my enemies are my enemies, right? If I'm the type of person that if I like you, or if I rock with you, I rock with you, right? And it doesn't matter what anybody say about you or anything like that. I'm not going to allow that to interfere with how I interact with you, right? But sometimes, since I've had some circumstances and some things have happened in my life where there was some trust issues, right? And it caused me to kind of walk around, not guarded, because you want to be guarded because the Bible tells us to guard your heart with all diligence, to be intentional about guarding, putting up fences, not walls, right? Fences keep people out, keep things out, and walls keep things out and keep you locked up in bondage too. So I necessarily wouldn't say I put up a wall, but I think what happens is I become a lot more cautious when it comes to interacting with new connections and getting outside of my comfort zone, because once you've been hurt, or once you've been, you've reached a level of disappointment, you kind of, you kind of just be like, nah, I don't want to go through that again, And so one of the things I've done to get out of my comfort zone is to be able to, recently I joined the 40 and over double Dutch club. And I'm telling you, I absolutely love it. being able to mingle and interact with people that I've never interacted with outside of skating, being able to interact with people and getting to know other ladies and getting to know their journeys and being able to connect, right? Outside of my comfort zone, because I've had the same friends for years and years and years, and they ain't never going nowhere. I'm going to always chase them. They ain't never going nowhere, right? But being able to open up to new possibilities and new exposures, you might be able to impart things in their life. They may be able to impart things in your life, and it becomes a equal exchange. Or sometimes if it's not equal, because sometimes you can give more than another person and another person can give more to you. So it's not about getting equal exchange. It's more so about reciprocity, right? So if you're connecting with people and they're reciprocating love, maybe not the same way that you are, but if they're reciprocating back to you, then it's a relationship that that can be beneficial both ways, right? And so getting out of your comfort zone is one way, to be able to, and to know that no matter what it is that God has called you to do, it's going to everything that he tells you to do is not going to be comfortable, right? Everything that if you want to see a change, right, in a particular area of your life, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. Right? You might be used to dealing with a certain type of people. You might be used to being in a particular circle. And now you have to get outside of your circle to expose yourself to new people, to new experiences, to new opportunities, right? Because if not, you will be stuck and stagnant. And in 2024, we're in the last quarter. We're not trying to be stuck. We're not trying to be stuck or stagnant, right? So number 6, spiritual warfare, right? Some of us are stuck because of spiritual warfare. And let's look at Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. Some of us are stuck because the enemy, you may have clarity. You may be getting out your comfort zone, but you might be struggling, because the Bible says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, right? So in other words, the warfare that you might be dealing with, you might be going through things in your life and you might be like, dang, I'm doing everything and I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. But for some reason, there's like a spiritual warfare. I'm like dealing with stuff that, like where'd this come from all of a sudden, right? So in Ephesians, let's pull it up. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Let's look at what it says. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 tells us, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, which means you're fighting against something that your spiritual attack ain't even, it's coming from what's going on in this world, the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high place. Some of the stuff that you're going through is because of principalities, because of doors that you've opened and you've allowed the enemy to come in, right? Unnecessary warfare. And unnecessary warfare could come from you mingling with things that counteract, right, the convictions, right, that God had, your personal convictions, right? So when you put yourself in compromising situations, you open the door for spiritual warfare. You open a door for the enemy to come in and attack you, right? When you put yourself in situations to open doors for warfare. Number 7, and we're almost done. Past wounds and experiences. Sometimes we're stagnant because of past wounds and experiences, right? as I said earlier, when you've been hurt and you suffered with some sort of trauma, right? And you begin to feel like, you know what, I ain't got time for this. You know, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna enter. I'm not gonna mingle with this group of people. I'm not gonna enter into new relationships. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna go outside the house. I'm not gonna experience new things because, nope, I've been hurt. And my experience tell me it ain't safe out there. Right? I did a video. It's funny because I did a video. It was kind of humorous, but it was like literally the truth, right? And I was saying it was like from the Home Alone video where it was like, um, basically saying, look, I'm opening myself up, right? And then you're like, look, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid anymore. And it was talking about what it's like to be dating, right? In this day and time, right? When you've been married a lot longer than you've been single, right? And you have to go back out there in a dating world. And today in 2024, woo, it's scary. It is horrifying, right? Because, and what makes it horrifying is not that these things haven't always been happening, right? But what's happening is people's appreciation for relationships and lack of understanding of what we're supposed to bring to each other in a relationship is dwindling. So people are settling for what you can give them and what you can give me, instead of thinking about how can I come into this relationship being able to, or this friendship or this relationship being there for you, right? And then that person thinking the same way, because if you're both preferring one another, if you're both putting each other first and you're both putting each other's needs first, then what happens is you both get what you need, right? No, there's no selfishness, there's no uneven reciprocity. And that in uneven, there's no, and when I say uneven reciprocity, meaning that don't mean because you do this, I do that. It means that there's a level of give and take, right? There's a level of give and take that shows up, that's supposed to show up in a relationship, right? Whether it's friendship or romantic relationships, that's supposed to take place where you're both getting what you need, right? And when you become a person that is only concerned about your needs, and you begin to take, and you never give, then what happens is eventually the person that's doing all the giving gets to feel depleted, right? And we all know what happens when your throat get dry, when you feel everything dries up, then everything becomes painful, right? So you want to make sure that you're in a position where you're allowing yourself to heal so that you can be able to determine from a healthy state of mind, right? Is this a healthy relationship? Is this a healthy friendship? Is this a healthy business deal? Is this healthy? Right? Because your mental health and well-being is superior, right? If being in this relationship is going to cost me my peace, I'm out, right? If being in this relationship or friendship is going to cost me, my peace of mind, right? You have to look at that. But if you're and there's a difference between, and let me say this because I've said this before, most people think that when you're in a relationship that everything's supposed to go like peaches and cream. It just doesn't work that way, right? The reason why I believe that opposites attract, right, is because there's something you're supposed to give to each other that makes that person better. Right? You might be a person that have more finances, right? And the other person that might be a person, they might be a person that's a great organizer. They might be a great organizer. They might be able to take what you have and be able to, expand it, right? You might be able to, there's like a yin and a yang, how they say, you might be a person that smack off on people, and that person might be calm. And so here it is, you got one person that's helping you remain calm, right? Teaching you how to be patient, right? And then the other person might be teaching you to, to live a little, and you might be in a situation where one person may be outgoing and the other person may be an introvert, right? And that's what I was looking for earlier when I was saying, what was the other word? You have the extrovert and you have the introvert, and then you have the ambivert. And, somebody who is ambivert, which means that you're a little bit of both, right? There's some times where I'm good by myself. I don't have to have people around me, and I'm good. I can go sit on my couch with my blanket and my heating pad, and I can sit there, eat me some snacks and watch a good movie, and I'm good and go to sleep. Right. And then there are other times I want to be out and I want to mingle and I want to be around people. Right. And it's like a little bit of both. Right. But sometimes when you are dealing with, if you have not allowed healing to take place, right? If you have not allowed God to heal you in a particular area of your life, then what will happen is you will be stagnant and scared to pursue new relationships because of your past wounds and experience. You'll be afraid to interact with new people because it's, I don't know if I want to go deep with this person. This person might be showing you love and you scared because your past traumas, right? Your past wounds and experience won't allow you to open yourself up to new love, new relationships, new businesses, new business ideas, new business connections. You scared, right? So you enter into that friendship or that relationship with, because you're terrified of what's on the other side. But when you allow God to heal you, truly heal you, and you allow him to really deal with you. And that's why those moments by yourself are important, because it allows you to reflect. When you're jumping in and out of relationships and you're going from one relationship to the next, that's not a good thing and it's not healthy. I don't care what society says. Jumping in and out of relationships, like you're treating people like they're disposable, right? And when you treat people like they're disposable, then what happens is you don't learn the value of patience. You miss, certain, and that's why you got people that's why you don't find people wanting to get married anymore. Everybody wants, to kind of be in a relationship with, if you don't do what I say, you don't do what I like. All right, I'm out. Peace, and nobody is exercising long suffering. And I'm not talking about toxicity. I'm not talking about being in relationships where it's toxic and it's clearly not a great situation. I'm talking about when you're in relationships and you're working things, there's something that happens to you when you learn to work things out with the right one. Right. Sometimes you have to learn how to, you learn about long suffering, right? You learn about what it's like to be patient, right? You can't get patience any other way except for when you're in the midst of something like that. When you're in the midst of something really difficult. Sometimes we're asking God to give us patience and then God give you difficult people. I used to say all the time, like, oh my God, Lord, you give me difficult people. Oh my gosh. Not even realizing that all this time I was praying for patience. And not realizing that you praying and asking God to give you patience and he sends you difficult people. So you got to be careful what you're asking for. God, I want a healthy relationship. I wanted a relationship where we never, we never have to disagree. Well, you have healthy disagreements and then you have toxic disagreements. And there's nothing wrong with a healthy disagreement when you're dialoguing and trying to get each other to understand, because you are two individuals, right? You are two different people with two different brains expressing different thought processes, right? And the becoming one takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. And then there are some cases where you just mesh and it just works out in the beginning. And then as you begin to grow and develop over life, things begin to change and you are mature enough to learn how to endure through different seasons of relationships. And I say that because I've been married. I've been married first time 15 years. And then the second time I was married until my husband passed away. So I fulfilled the covenant, so I know what it's like to fulfill a covenant to the end. Right. And so number 8, last and foremost, lack of support. This is one of the reasons why the last thing that we're going to talk about is why we are stagnant and stuck. Right. Is because we don't feel like we have the support. We don't feel like, oh, such and such doesn't support me. My friends and family don't support me. Oh, I can't get to where I need to be because nobody won't help me. Because nobody won't be, I need help. Nobody won't help me. Nobody won't, do this. You got to know that if God has impart, you got to know, you got to take inventory on the things that God has put on the inside of you. You got to take inventory, and you've got to ask God for strategic instructions on how to get through different things. You got to ask, nobody's supporting me. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's allowing me to do this. Well, first of all, once you take inventory of what God has put on the inside of you, once you take inventory, then God will, and you begin to heal in those areas, because most of the time you're not getting support because you're not healed, and you showing up in areas where you're offending people and you're causing harm. You're reckless in your behavior, and people don't want to support you because you're reckless because of your trauma issues, right? And when you're dealing with trauma, nobody can really show up and be there for you and show you community and support, because you won't allow it, right? You still have to give people permission, right, to be able to be there and support you, right? People can't force themselves into your life. You have to open up the door. You have to open up the door, an opportunity for God to put people, because there are some people he strategically put in your path to support you in the areas that you need growth in, right? Or that you may need assistance in. But if you don't, but you're looking for it to come from this place, and God may be sending this person over here to help you, but you're so busy looking at, well, I wanted it to come from here, right? But God is sending you somebody who you think is not that important to help you, right? But you can't receive it because of your trauma, right? And your trust issues, right? When you have trust issues, you can't even connect with people, right? And for some of you that are, that don't have trust issues, and you feel like, man, why is it that, when I go do something, I don't feel like I have the support. I feel like people are not there to help me. Well, sometimes, right, as we learn in we're going to read in Psalms 27, verse 10, right? Psalms 27, verse 10 says, when my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. When my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. So if you're doing everything and God is ordering your steps and he's showing you how to move in a particular area or situation, and you don't feel like you're getting the support that you need, then you got to know that when all else fails, the Lord will take you up. He will give you the support. He will keep you in perfect peace when your mind is stayed on him. He will give you, and he will position you in places where people will support you, right? In those areas that you need to get you to the next area. And sometimes it may be people that you may not even know, right? Sometimes you're expecting it to come from this place, and God may give you support from somewhere else, from people you don't even know. So again, those are my 8 barriers that I feel, these are just some examples that are keeping you stuck. And that is fear of failure, fear of the unknown, comparison to others, lack of clarity, comfort zones, spiritual warfare, past wounds and experiences, and lack of support in community, right? So if you feel like any of these areas that you struggle with, right, I want you to take the opportunity, and I want you to pray, and I want you to sit down before God in the stillness, right? Try, some of you that may be mothers and you have kids and you may not have all, a whole lot of stillness time, go in the bathroom, put the covers over your head and tell your kids that, that you're praying or something like that, or do like they had in the video where you just stand by the step and put the jacket over you. But take some time and be still. Practice being still before God so that he can bring clarity, because it doesn't matter who you get to try to help you on your journey. It's not going to help you if you don't learn to be still and learn how to hear instructions, right? Because even if he used people to give you instructions, you've got to be in a position to hear. Your ears have to be open. Your spiritual ears have to be open so that you can be able to receive whatever instruction that he gives. So before you go seeking out help for anybody else, take time and be still and allow him to still that confusion, all that stuff that's going on in your heart, all that stuff that's going on in your mind. Just be still and allow him to bring peace. He said, my peace I give you, not as the world give. That means that he has a peace that surpasses all understanding, and it will keep your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. The peace that he gives you keeps your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. And when your mind and heart is kept in him, right? Not only will you experience peace, but you will also, those barriers will begin to break. Your wounds will begin to heal when you allow him to do the work on the inside of you, right? That work, that struggle, it won't be a resistance to doing what he called you to do. It won't be, you'll be able to know, okay, you won't have to compare yourself to Sister Barbecue and Brother Chicken Pork Chop, because you have learned to be still and learn how to hear. Because when you learn how to hear, he said, my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they won't follow. So when you learn how to hear his voice and he leads you to a particular area or a particular person or a particular situation, you still got to know if it's him. Because let me tell y'all something. There's a lot of people giving advice. There's a lot of people that have voices on these airways. There is a lot of people that are waiting to tell you what to do. But when you learn how to depend on him, when you learn how to hear from God, he will show you. He will put people in your path, the right people in your path that will help you and get you in a place where you can learn wisdom. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is the principal thing. When you live your life according to principles, right? And wisdom is a principle, right? When you live your life according to the principles of the word of God, it's guaranteed to see fruit. It's the system that God has set in place for us. He said, and with all thy getting, get an understanding. Get an understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. And wisdom is the ability to take what you have learned or what has been downloaded into you via a person, via the Holy Spirit, whatever was downloaded into you. Wisdom is being able to take that information and be able to walk it out. And if you don't have wisdom, and wisdom, there's the Bible talks about two different types of wisdom in James 3. And it talks about, and we're going to go ahead to it. I'm going to show you this last thing before we go ahead and leave. All right. There's two different types of wisdom, right? You got the wisdom of God, right? And you have the wisdom of the world. And a lot of times we are living our life and governing our life off the wisdom of the world, right? And in James chapter 3, it says, hold on. Not James chapter 3. Hold on. I'm sorry. James chapter 5. I think it was James 5. Give me 1 second. Let me go back to it. It was James 5. I'm sorry. James 5, right? Oh my God, I tell you. And it's funny because as I'm looking at this, it made me think about where it says the wisdom of God is first pure, right? The wisdom of God is first pure. Let me get into that first before I talk about what I wanted to show you in James 3. Hold on, let me pull up. That scripture just came into my mind. So I believe God is showing me that for a reason, and he's leading me to that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that the wisdom of God is first pure, right? That means that it doesn't have any ulterior motive, right? But to make sure that you have, that means it's not tainted. It's not tainted, doesn't have any lies attached to it. Hold on, let me pull it up. My system, y'all, bear with me because my power was out, and so now everything's coming back up slowly but surely. But James 3:17, which is what I was looking for earlier. James 3:17 says, "But the wisdom of God is first pure." Hold on, go back to it. Let me pull it back up. It came out. I'm gonna read it. Okay. James 3:17. I don't wanna miss no part of it. I wanna make sure that we get all of it. Mm. In James chapter 3, let's start at verse 13, y'all. Because I'm telling y'all, I'm like trying to read that one verse, and it's like I'm looking at all the previous verses, and I can't help but to share this with y'all. I just gotta say it. It said, "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. For where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy." So that you have the wisdom of the world, which is sensual. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to do another podcast on that because there's some things that God was even showing me, even in this whole feminism thing, being feminine, showing me that sometimes the wisdom that we are learning from the world, right, is sensual, right? Earthly, devilish, right? And when you think about a woman of God and you think about a woman that's of the world, there are certain characteristics that come with who we are, right? So if you build your life or your femininity, right? If you build your femininity on worldly wisdom and not biblical wisdom, then it's going to be sensual, it's going to be devilish, and it's going to be it's going to be earthly. So that means when you're listening to people and when you're listening to people and you're a woman of God and you're listening to the world tell you how to be feminine, right? It's going to be sensual. It's going to be earthly. It's going to be devilish, right? And it doesn't mean that being a woman of God that you can't have a level of attraction that comes with you, right? That doesn't mean you don't have a certain level of attraction, but it's pure. Meaning that when people look at you, they see the true beauty of who you are from the inside out. They're not just looking at you being feminine concerning your body. In other words, they're not looking at your physical body and looking at, and looking at what they like looking at you like you an animal, like they're going to rip you up, but they're looking at you from a pure perspective, looking at the beauty of who you are, the beauty in how God created you, the beauty in your personality, the connection that you might build with that person based on the purity and the peacefulness that person brings to you, right? So here it is. It says the wisdom that comes from above is pure. It's peaceful. It's gentle, right? Easy to be entreated, full of mercy, right? You can't tell me you operating in wisdom and you're not full of mercy. You're not a woman of peace. You're not a woman that's that can be easily entreated. People can't approach you because you just like, but you're a woman of peace, right? And peace doesn't mean agreeable to all things. It means that the inside of you, there's a stillness. There's a stillness that's on the inside of you. You're being governed by something that's controlling you internally. You're being governed by what's going on the inside. Your peace that you show outwardly is a demonstration of what's going on the inside of your heart, in your mind, and your spirit. So you got the wisdom of the world, which is, it says, sensual, it's earthly, and it's devilish. And then you have the wisdom of God, which is first pure, easy to be entreated, peaceable, right? Full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Which means you're not acting like you're a woman of peace, and then you go home and you're a woman and you just blowing up, you know, like how the Bible says it's better to be on a rooftop than to be in a house with a quarreling woman, right? Without partiality, which means you're not showing one person mercy and you looking at another person and you treating them different. That means you're treating everybody the same, right? Your personality, your character, and everything that's surrounded who you are is without hypocrisy. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. You have a standard in which you live your life that causes people to be attracted to you or to cause them to be repelled from you. You're not over here saying one thing and then over here doing another thing. You're peaceable, full of mercy. When somebody does you wrong, you know, you want, and it's funny because I told the story. I was at a Family Dollar, and this lady went off on me because I was looking at the chargers. My phone had died, and she went off on me, and I knew that God had really did some work. He had changed me. I knew God, let me tell y'all, I knew God changed me because I didn't even have there was a part of me, I was just like, it just happened. It's just, when you begin to develop that closer walk with God, he just begins to start changing things about you. It's no longer like an intense struggle. It's like you might face it, but then you're like, you're easy to crucify it. It's like, okay, I know this is not like you, so I'm not going to behave in that manner. And so even though I was like really upset at the way she was talking to me, and I felt like it was a test. And though I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, she's treating me, like I'm just hood, like, she treated me like, like I'm just this hood rat. And she's talking to this lady before me, and she's treating this lady with treating her kind, but she's talking like really nasty towards me. And my flesh wanted to rise up, right? And I just couldn't do it. And I wanted to retaliate. And I wanted to retaliate a little bit harder than what I did. And I realized the Lord convicted me, like, it was in your heart. Even though you didn't fully do what you wanted to do, you thought it in your heart, right? And given the opportunity, without that conviction, you would have did it, right? And that's when I realized that the wisdom of God was changing me. Not only do I spend so much time, when I talk about wisdom in this area, I talk about it because I know what God is doing in my life. And I know that it took an incredible amount of wisdom for me to become the person that I am and that I'm still becoming, right? And I know that. And so that's why it's my goal when you always hear me say becoming a woman of Proverbs, meaning that I'm allowing God to take me through a process to change me. I'm allowing God to change some things about me and help me to become the person that He originally designed me to be. And that involves all of my downfalls. That involves all the things that I've had to come through, right, in order to become and continue to become the person that He called me to be. So there's an earthly wisdom and there is a wisdom from above. You choose. The Bible says death and life. He said, you choose life or death, right? You choose which direction you want. Do you want earthly wisdom or do you want the wisdom from above? And I think we all want to say we want the wisdom from above, but sometimes the wisdom from above, the things that he may instruct us to do, will include getting past those 8 barriers that we talked about. So I hope you were blessed tonight. I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast. I wanted to kind of go over something really quick before I actually end the broadcast. Tomorrow, I am doing a masterclass, right? I'm doing a masterclass on digital. I created a group in the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs page, and it's called P31 Digital Academy, right? So in the P31 Digital Academy, right, it's where I'm going to be actually showing you how to create digital products, right? How to create digital products. I'm going to walk you through the process, tell you what you need to do in order to create it so that you can be able to, because nowadays we're in a we're in a digital society now. If you are not in the digital world in any way, shape, or form, you are going to be lost. I need to tell you that, right? So with this academy, we're going to be going over, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you guys can see it. I want to kind of go over it with y'all. Within this academy, I'm going to be talking about, like I said, how to create digital products. Let me go ahead and show this screen. Here we go. Let me see. Okay, there we go. So we're going to be learning how to create digital planners. So in this group, in this Facebook group, in my Becoming a Woman of Proverbs, on my Becoming a Woman of Proverbs page, or you can go to the website, p31digitalacademy.org, and sign up for the masterclass tomorrow. And we're going to be basically going over, how to create digital planners, how to create digital products to be able to use them for yourself, right? Or to be able to use them to be able to sell in the marketplace, right? And so there are, and there's a lot of different things that you can create. And I'm going to show you some creative ways that are not normally talked about when creating these digital planners. I'm going to show you some examples of where they're actually marketed at. We already know, a lot of you have been on the internet long enough to know, right, where a lot of these digital products are being marked. But I'm going to show you a very unique way that I have learned to create digital products, right? And I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share all my little secrets. Some of you that have been a part of my courses before, and understand. Sometimes I give way too much value for the price that you're paying. This masterclass is $9.95, right? And that $9.95 is just only for the access to the Digital Academy Facebook group. So when you are in the Digital Academy Facebook group, right, you're going to be able, you pay $9.95 a month, and you get to see me teach business in so many different ways. I'm going to show you how to create digital planners. I'm going to show you how to be successful in this digitized digital media world, right? Where people are actually doing extremely well. I've learned a lot, and I love to be able to share it with you guys. For those of you that are beginners, who is this class for? Who is this group, the Proverbs 31 Digital Academy Facebook group for? This is for anybody, mainly women, that want to be able to earn an additional income in the area of digital marketing, digital products, because it's hot right now, right? It's hot because people are using their gifts and their talents to be able to put it into a digital product or service to be able to offer. So it doesn't mean you're changing what your gifts are. I'm going to show you how to take your gifts, and I'm going to show you how to put it into a digital product that you can be able to make available, right? Because when you exchange your value, right, with somebody who needs what you have, you get what you need and they get what they need. And so I've been in this digital world for quite some time, and there's some things that I've learned. And these classes that are in the Digital Academy Facebook group do not cost you anything, right? For now, right? I'm not charging anything for now, right? So what I'm doing is giving you the opportunity to join the subscription, right? To join the group for $10 a month, and you'll have an opportunity to get access, right, to some of the teachings and the courses and stuff that I've created. There's so many more things. I'm going to be teaching you so much in this digital world, because that's the industry we're going in. You know, first we went to the industry of working, coming out of the work field and working from home. And now we're taking, and we're not changing business. We're just changing how we're doing business. Right. And if you don't learn how um, to move with the change, right, it doesn't mean you change the quality um, the quality of what you do, right? Doesn't mean you change what you do. It just means you have to change it in a different way to where people are able to take the information that God has put on the inside of you, right? To be able to share with the world, right? And be able to, at the same time, make an income for you and your family also, which I have been doing for a very, very long time right now. And so I'm teaching from an aspect of what I know, what I've done. When I created this course, I mean, I did really well just in the first time I tell I told a couple of people that know me, I tell them my story. And I'm like, man, I was in a point where I was like, oh God, you know, I don't know such and such. And, I was getting discouraged, and he actually gave me a specific strategy on what to do. And I saw immediate results to his obedience. So I'm telling you, if you are interested and you want to know, if you are new and you are still trying to figure out this digital product world, and you are new, now you might be an expert and you might feel like, hey, I know this, I don't need your help. That's fine also. But I can tell you one thing, the way I teach and what I've got to show you is unlike any other person when it comes to creating digital products. And that's what's going to make me different from anybody else that teaches it. So if you want to be a part of it, make sure you go to p31digitalacademy.org to be able to participate. It's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. So once you go ahead and sign up and get access, you'll be able to access and on Saturday, and you're going to learn a lot. So that's all I have for you today. Also, I'm trying to think, is there any other announcements? Oh, so I have created, hold on, I forgot something I got to show y'all. Hold on. So for those of you, I have started opening up my own, put it on this side, my own clothing and apparel. So this is one of my backpacks, right? I don't know if you can see it in the world. It's one of my backpacks. It's called Becoming a Woman of Proverbs, Strength and Honor are her dignity. This is a new clothing line. It's called Strength and Dignity Clothing and Apparels. So this is one of my bags that I have. It's a tote bag. The quality of it is really good, y'all. I thought when I got it, I was like, oh man, I hope it's not, flimsy. But man, this thing is really, the fabric on the inside is black. It has like several different pockets on the inside. Is very sturdy. I can carry my tablet in here, my phone, my purse, my makeup, my Bible. You can carry quite a bit of things. You can even put your laptop in here if you want to, if you have a small laptop. But this is what the bag looks like. At the top, it says becoming, on the straps, it says becoming a woman. On the back, it says becoming a woman of Proverbs. It's very sturdy. Has a little, let me go on this side, show you a little bit again. So on this, it's got, and the logo on the inside. You can put your little water bottle, whatever you put right there. Has like straps. The fabric, when I tell you the fabric, let me get it a little closer. The fabric is amazing. And I love it. It has a lot of different pockets. So make sure you go to coachingwithnadira.com. Which is now coachingwithnadira.com is now an app. So you can actually access it and save it to your home screen. But you can go there and visit and actually check out all the products and everything that I discussed. And in the promo videos, you can go on there and find it out. So make sure, I'm going to recap, make sure you sign up to be a part of my P31 Digital Academy Facebook group. It's $10 a month, guys. I mean, $10. You got $10 a month, and you get an incredible amount of value where I come in once a week and show you how to master the digital economy. So make sure you sign up. Go to P31. I think I had it on. Let me see if I had it on here. I think I did. Let me see. See if I put it up here. So no, let me put it up here. Make sure you go to P31, www.p31digitalacademy.org and sign up, right? I'm gonna put it on the screen so that for some of you that may come back and watch it on a replay, go to p31digitalacademy.org to sign up for the masterclass tomorrow. It is there is no cost for the masterclass. The only thing you have to pay for is the $10 to access to be able to be a part of the Facebook group, right? $10 is nothing to be compared to the value that you're going to get when I show you in the group how to be able to be a beast in this digital industry. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I really enjoy your support. Make sure you visit my website, coachingwithnadira.com, for all products and services that I have. Just go there if you need one-on-one coaching. You can go to coachingwithnadira.com, and I'll be more than happy. You can schedule a 30-minute free session. And if I can help you, because I'm not able to help everybody, but if I can help you, I am more than willing to be able to get you to that place where you need to be by providing you biblical wisdom in a particular area of your life that's going to help you get to the other side. Because I realize most of the stuff that we deal with is because we're heeding to the wisdom of the world and not the wisdom of God. And that's why we're not successful. That's why we're not seeing success in our business, in our relationships, in our friendships, in our connections. We're not seeing it because we're yielding to the wisdom of the world and not the wisdom of God. So until next time, guys, if you are watching on a replay, make sure you share this live. If you know somebody that can benefit from this, make sure you share this live. Make sure you hit like and let me know exactly where you're watching from. And for those of you that are watching on a replay, thank you so much for watching and supporting. I'll see you on tomorrow in the masterclass. Have an amazing evening.